Mental health torture, part 3. When we talk about mental health torture, we have to understand that accumulation of those tortures experienced by individuals can lead to mental health sickness. It is time we pay more attention to our own mental health care. I'd been following news, reading newspapers from Uganda about suicide rates and killing that had been going on for a very long time now. Sometimes back, I talk about peddling through psychological trauma our people went through, especially in the 𝙁𝙗𝙬 Triangle and the 𝙁𝙊𝙇 Triangle. The people suffered a lot. And to be honest, we may think that we are very strong, that we don't need professionals to talk to us about the trauma we had gone through all those years. But you see, with psychological trauma, it developed as time passed by. When people came back from the camp, they thought it was easy, that you just walk, you go home, and everything will be fine. But everything is not fine. According to reports you hear or you read in the newspapers about suicide rates in 𝙁𝙊𝙇 land is alarming. It's alarming. Here are people who has gone through a lot during the war. They stayed in a concentration camp for a very long time. And now that they're back home, it seems as if nobody is realizing that the psychological trauma they had when they were in the camp, when the war is going on, is now emerging into something else. You hear people doing funny things which should have not been done. You hear people committing suicide over small issues that should have not been there. If we had professionals taking care of those people when they came back from the camp. All over Uganda today, we have people who didn't stay in the camp, but the psychological trauma they are going through, if you see what is happening, if you read the newspaper, then one begins to ask himself, what is really mental health torture? You see how people have been going through a lot of things. You are being beaten up on the street by police. military organs, and local defense forces. And today, we have coronavirus. We may think it is something easy to handle. But let me tell you something. Mental health torture is a silent killer. If you don't handle it properly, it turns into mental health sickness. At the moment, all attention is on coronavirus, while the killer, the silent killer, mental health torture, is going on unnoticed. Whenever you read domestic newspapers, you hear that a man is killed in a fight of a barmaid on a Christmas day. Just a Christmas Day dance with a woman can cost you your life. At the same time, you do hear that the government is recruiting more than 4,000 troops in different parts of Uganda. But you don't hear those lawmakers talking about improving our hospital facilities. You don't hear them talking about improving the mental issues that had been going on in Uganda for a very long time. The only thing you hear, we are going to recruit soldiers, 4,000 soldiers, those with diploma in engineering, in chemistry, in medicine, and those lawmakers seems not to be serious at all. Maybe we have to blame our representatives in parliament, because if the suicide rate in your district or in your constituency is going up, then you, as a lawmaker, you should be concerned. You should try to go back and find out to what is really happening. Why are people committing suicide? Probably they may need help. And if the help is not there, then you cannot solve the problem. So the matter of suicide will be going on and on and on. And that is because of mental health torture these people has gone through during the war, in the camp, and is now spreading all over the country. For the last 30 years, people are being beaten. What we used to call during the Obote's government that Pandagari is back, and the soldiers who are supposed to keep our people safe, they are behaving worse than a wild leopard itself. And if the big man or the people who run that country does not understand the gravity of their action, then I'm sorry, we will keep hearing those bad news day in, day out. Let me go through some of the things I read in the news. You see, there's not a day you wake up, you don't hear something about killing. When you open the newspaper, you'll keep on reading that 2 brothers killed themselves, that 13 people are injured in separate city accidents. 2 brothers who killed themselves in Kampala on Christmas Day. And then you hear the sad news that a 10-year-old died after eating a rat poison on Christmas Day. Is that the news you want to really hear during Christmas? And then you ask yourself, say, why should this young boy of 10 years kill himself after eating a rat poison? What was the rat poison doing there? Did the parent know the danger, or we don't have a proper education to teach our people about poison, about not to keep poison in the house when you have kids? And then you hear that another boy, a young man, 24 years old, drowned in Lake George when he was trying to retrieve his canoe bought from the 𝙏𝙝𝙖𝙣𝙠. Nobody seemed to care about the people anymore. And when something happened like that, it becomes a problem to the family. And it becomes a mental health torture to the family, because you lose a young man, and then if you don't have somebody who can give you a support, somebody who can talk to you, somebody who understands what you're going through, then you get locked up in an island with no support at all. We are involved in a short-term wealth creation and forgetting the effect of health issues on our people. Whenever you wake up, you hear sad news, and those sad news turns into mental health torture. When you just open your newspaper in the morning, or you are living in that area, you hear that armed Congolese militiamen raided fishermen at Lake 𝙏𝙗𝙖𝙣𝙠 in western Uganda. And then before you even go further, you hear that a toddler drowned as he was trying to retrieve his shoes from a stream. Then you begin to ask yourself, every day in, every day out, when you wake up, the only news you read is violence. Why? Why are our people becoming so violent that whatever you do, it represents violence? And when you wake up, the only news you hear is about that violence happening here, violence happening there, violence. So your head, your mind become diluted in torture, because the only thing you read, the newspaper you read, the news you get around you is only sad news. And it had been going on for a very long time. So if you ask yourself, to what has gone wrong in that paradise? Why are Ugandans? Why do we turn into a man-eating man society where life does no longer have any values? We have become so greedy that no one cares anymore about what happened to their neighbors, to their brothers, even to their sisters. The only news we hear is bad news. You keep hearing that a new land law hits a town somewhere in Uganda because they want to build a hospital sewage project. But you go there, you want to build a project, you're not even asking the resident, and the resident became annoyed, and they gathered there, and then it became a dispute. But if you don't explain to these people that, listen, we want to build a sewage treatment plant in your district, explain to them. Tell them why you want to build a sewage plant. Why you want to build a sewage plant. Is sitting down, explaining that to the people very difficult? It is not. But when you go with that attitude that I'm the boss, I'm better, I know that the government is behind me, I know that you in the village, even if you open your mouth, I'm not going to listen to you anyway, because I have the power, then that is a failure. Then you yourself is involved in mental health torture. You are torturing those people instead of talking with them and coming to an agreement. It seems as if the government and its agents are doing a real bad job. That is why our people are getting mad and worried. Those of you who think that mental health issues in Uganda does not exist are daydreaming. We are caught up in a spider web that is going to finish our people. And when we wake up, it will be too late. Most of our people will be replaced. By those who are not native. Of that country. Or we will all wake up and we find ourselves having a mental health sickness. And when everybody has a mental health sickness, it is going to cost any government, whether the present government who is involved in mental health torture or another government. But when people begin to get sick, that they need professional help, the cost is going to be enormous, and it is going to cost any state, including that one of ours, a lot of money. If you look at how people in other countries are focusing on mental health issues for their people, then you can realize that we in Africa, we don't pay a damn about mental health issues. You are on your own. If you cannot, if you become a disturbance to the society, they will lock you up in Butabika. You may not even get a proper treatment. Probably that's why we have only one place or two in Uganda who can handle those type of problems. But let me tell you, what is happening today in Uganda is real. Some of us may not see it. Some of us may see it if we pass through coronavirus. That in about 5 years' time, in about 10 years' time, when mental health torture turns into sickness, a lot of Ugandans will be in real trouble, a trouble that it will be very difficult to cure. We are reading news, we are looking at things, but we are not taking them seriously. If you read the Uganda newspaper writing, and then you ask yourself to why a knife-wielding thugs, somebody who comes with a knife, attacks some women and foreigners at Entebbe beaches, injuring 10 people, and robbed them on a Boxing Day. Then you ask yourself, what is happening to this country? And then if you go further, you read that a UPDF commander was sacked over killing a chairman of a sub-country. The death of that man sparked protests among the youth in that district. Here is an officer killing, and the only thing you can do is sack him. Sack him. You're sacked, you can go, there's no problem. But thanks for your service. It doesn't work. We are just creating a lot of problems for ourselves. Tell me, is that not a mental health issue? It is. see, sometimes you hear even ministers are saying, I have no time for negative energy. I'm not bothered by the Constitutional Court judgment nullifying my election. Let me focus on 2021 general election. Telling you to keep your mental issues, mental problem, mental problem to yourself. He tells you, I'm here building a life for myself. I'm not building a life for you. I'm not building a life for your family, but I'm building the life for myself, my family, and my grandchildren. And still, we do go on with that attitude. I don't care. It is your own problem. You solve it. No, it is not their problem. It is not only their problem. It is your problem. It is my problem. It is our problem. If we don't solve it now, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, their grandchildren will face the drum. And it may even be worse than what you and me are passing through, than what you and me have seen in our lifetime. And then who are you going to blame if it happens? Who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame myself? No. Are you going to blame yourself? No. Are you going to blame your children? No. Because when we keep on having that attitude, I don't care attitude, nothing will ever change in Uganda. Nothing will ever change. Instead, we are grooming a generation with full of mental health problems. And when you have a country that half of its population are having mental health problems, then you have even a bigger problem than those stories we hear, that the robbers has killed people here, that the police officer are looking at the CCTV to see who is there. That will not be there anymore. That will not be there. But you'll be confronted with people who has got problems. You'll be confronted with people who are suicidal. You'll be confronted with people who can commit murder, who can kill one another because they have psychological problems, because they have mental sickness. It's a sickness that you yourself, as the nation, you forgot about it. You let it go free, as if nothing is happening in that country. But if you were serious enough to listen to yourself, to listen to the people, to read the newspapers, and then count the number of incidents of death, of killing, of suicide taking place in Uganda, you would stop and ask yourself, what can I do to make it better for these people? What can I do to help these people become normal people so that they can go on suffering and adding insult to injury or injury to insults. Let me put it the other way. They could both work. You'll find that your people are going out there beating up people, injecting fear, stress. People are running up and down. When they go home, they cannot sleep. And you are creating the mental health torture into the mind of these people. And you are forcing them to become mental health victims in their own country. There is something you cannot do. Whether you are the lawmakers, whether you are the law enforcers, please think twice, because there will come a time when these people you are mistreating will say, sorry, I can't take it anymore. And when people can't take anything anymore, then the worst happened, because they would have given up. They say, I don't see the value of living. I don't see why I should allow someone else to stop me going to the town, to beat me up. When you want to talk to me as a grown-up person, we can have a dialogue. We can talk to one another. You can explain why you don't want me to come to town. I will understand it. But if you use force the way you are using now, then you're forcing me to defend myself. And when all these people you are beating start defending themselves, you'll have nowhere to run. So please, wherever you are, or wherever you are, let's try to work hard to stop a mental health torture. A mental health torture has no place in Uganda. Thank you for listening. I'll be back.